Okay, but right now, tonight, we are talking about this story that came up today, which is this dinner conversation between Putin and Trump. So let's take a step back. A couple hours ago, I was sitting in here, sitting and watching the news and keeping up. And all of a sudden, I started seeing these reports on Twitter and on TV of very concerned people in the media because apparently President Trump had a second secret meeting with Vladimir Putin at the G20. Remember, he had that meeting we knew about, which was the meeting that was supposed to be like 20 minutes and went for 2.5 hours or 2 hours and 20 minutes or whatever it was. Well, I started seeing these frenzied reports that there was a second secret meeting. In the secret meeting was only President Trump, Putin, and a Russian interpreter. That was the only people who was in this secret meeting. So I heard this and I was like, well, I guess that's potentially concerning if President Trump really did have like a secret negotiation meeting with Putin in some room somewhere and it was just him, Putin, and the Russian interpreter. So, and let me show you the kind of tweets I was seeing before. So The Hill broke this story. I think they broke the story. They were certainly the one a lot of people were quoting. And they tweeted out, Trump held a second undisclosed meeting with Putin at G20. So that right there sounds like it's a secret meeting of some sort, like it's arranged and it's a meeting and it's in some room and it's in hiding. So that was the initial report, and I started seeing people on TV. MSNBC was very concerned about it. Let me show you some of the other tweets I was seeing about it too. I went back on my Twitter timeline and did some searching actually. Let's see here. So this guy, Wayne Williams, quoted MSNBC breaking, Trump has a second undisclosed private meeting, and that's not a media source. But yeah, look, Reuters Top News. Look at this. Reuters Top News reported, Trump, Putin had a second undisclosed meeting at the G20 Summit. So again, it's sounding like, oh, there was this meeting and they were in this room and it was planned, and they were like negotiating or thinking stuff up and it was secret and it's all nefarious. So, and then here's the actual, well, the Hill story I'm not going to show you yet because I don't know if they changed the headline. But all right, this guy Ian Bremmer, who was quoted in the New York Times story about it. Let me keep going. I'm sorry. I want to keep going and show you some other tweets here. Here, Seth Abramson. Now he's verified. Who does he write for? He's a professor at UNH, but he has done segments on the BBC and CNN. He was posting in other media organizations. This professor was saying, I want everyone to process it. Trump knew the eyes of the world were on him, and he held a secret Putin meeting. Kyle Griffin, he's from MSNBC. He's a producer. He posted, Trump relied completely on a Russian translator during his second meeting. So we're hearing meeting things. Okay, so, and I want to show you the Ted Lieu, if I can find him. Ted Lieu, who's a liberal congressman from California, and he just hates Trump. So look at what he was posting. Ted Lieu posted, and this is not the media, this is Ted Lieu, but he's a congressman. Trump and Putin held a previously undisclosed private meeting. Why does real Donald Trump keep acting like he was beholden to Putin? Oh, and this is also, who's this John Pasentino guy? He's from BuzzFeed News. He calls it a second Trump-Putin meeting. Everybody's saying it's a secret meeting, a second meeting. Ted Lieu also says, the congressman, how do we know second Trump-Putin meeting was nefarious? Because the president tried to keep it a secret and he didn't even trust Tillerson to be there. So the idea is like there was this meeting, he set up this meeting and he didn't even trust Tillerson to be there. He set it up in secret. And Joe Scarborough, who hosts Morning Joe, he said something kind of similar, which I'll show you. Speaking about the press reaction, let me show you what Joe Scarborough wrote when this was all coming out. He still hasn't deleted the tweets. So he writes, one day we will know exactly what Putin holds over Trump every waking second of his life. All we know now is that it must be something big. And he's responding to this guy, Ian Bremmer, who wrote that there was a second meeting. And then Joe Scarborough also writes, look what he writes here. what does it mean when a U.S. president fears other Americans being in the room for a meeting with Putin? It means we all have much to fear. So this kind of tweet and a lot of the other tweets we saw and a bunch of the coverage that was coming out was coverage which was suggesting this was some like diplomatic meeting that was prearranged, that was in like some enclosed private room somewhere that no one else was in, and it was just Putin, Trump, and the interpreter, and there was like nefariousness going on. So this is how the press was initially covering this, a lot of the press that I saw initially. But then, you know what? I started reading some details about the meeting, and I was like, as usual, the facts about the story seem a little different than what's being suggested in the mainstream media. So I actually went to this Hill article. Now, I don't know this article from the Hill. I don't know if they changed the headline.
Trump held a second talk with Russian President Vladimir Putin on the sidelines of...
My bad. I didn't know it was going to do that. So now the Hill's headline is President Trump and Putin had a second undisclosed talk at G20. It was meeting. They were reporting meeting earlier. Now they're saying talk. But if you look, this is the same article, I believe. And if you look down at the article, I started looking through it. And where is it? I'm looking down. Is this where it says the couples only dinner thing? Or maybe it was a nothing. Now this is like updated. I just want to keep looking and see if they have more of this stuff in here. This isn't the same article, so I won't go through it right now. But basically, let me go back to me for a second before I talk more about this. So basically, I started reading articles about a couple articles, and I believe it was one of the articles was the Hill article about this meeting, this secret second meeting, and some facts started coming out, and I started seeing, oh wait, it was at a G20 dinner. Oh wait, it was at a couples dinner at the G20, and there were no staff or cabinet allowed at this dinner. So as you saw, Joe Scarborough was saying he didn't even tell Tillerson about it. And some other people were like, he didn't tell his staff about it, this meeting. But they couldn't have come anyway because it was a dinner for just couples of world leaders with their significant others or spouses or whatever. And no staff was allowed. So it's not like he could have told Tillerson to come to this meeting. Tillerson wasn't allowed at this dinner. Okay, so I started seeing that. I started seeing, it was at a dinner, and it was a couples only dinner. And then I started thinking, and then I saw this fact that I saw this fact that was when Putin and Trump talked at the dinner, they didn't even go into another room. They just spoke at the dinner. Like, it's not like they said, like, hey, let's run off to some other room and meet. They were just sitting at a table or standing at the dinner, just talking in front of everyone. That doesn't sound like a secret meeting to me, really. Also, let me show you, Mark Knoller posted these pictures. He covers the White House for, let me show you. He covers the White House for CBS. And he posted these pictures, which I believe are of the dinner. And if you look at the pictures, that's the room the dinner was in, reportedly. So this is where they had their secret meeting in this giant dinner with all these people around. They didn't like go off somewhere else. So I'm reading these facts about this secret meeting, and I'm realizing, like, wait a second, it was at a couple's dinner. There was no cabinet or staff even allowed there. And basically, now there's different reports. The initial stories said that they talked for an hour, Putin and Trump. The White House released a statement which said they only spoke briefly. So I don't know who to believe here, but let's assume the media initial reporting was correct, and it was an hour. Let's grant the media reporting on it that. Let's just assume it was an hour that they talked. So what we know so far about this meeting is, okay, there was a couple's dinner. By the way, I also saw that Melania was seated next to Putin or Mrs. Putin. So there was some contact there, and world leaders were talking to each other at this dinner of world leaders and their significant others. They were talking to each other. And it sounds like what happened is Putin and Trump started talking, and they talked, let's just say it was for an hour. Maybe it was less. Let's just say it was for an hour. So the media was reporting this. So first of all, the whole thing about it being some secret meeting, which was initially reported, just seems wrong. And also that, like, all this stuff people were tweeting about, like how President Trump didn't even tell Tillerson about this. and didn't even tell his staff about this. That seems kind of misleading because staff and cabinet wasn't even allowed at this dinner. So there's that. But also, the reporting on this was also very negative. So if you want to, you can go and look at this article I'm going to show you right now. This is at the New York Times. It says Trump and Putin held a second undisclosed private conversation. Notice now how the headlines now are conversation and talk, and initially it was all about having a meeting. So they've backed off on that a bit. But and it says private, although I guess it was private because it was at the dinner, but they were talking to each other, but they were at this dinner. But if you read through the story is very negative. And it basically has some quotes from this guy, Ian Bremmer, who I don't know much about, who spins it as a negative and says other people. So it's reported in the story that some of the people at the meeting were sort of surprised that they saw Putin and Trump talking for so long. But my general point is, I believe if you read this story, you'll see the general tone of it is this is not a good thing, and this is not protocol, and there's maybe something bad is going on here. But the thing that's not explored in this article, and that I haven't been seen talked about in the coverage that I've seen, is this meeting necessarily a bad thing? So let's look at, for all we know, here's something that could have happened. It seems this is a plausible scenario that could have happened. President Trump and Putin start talking at this meeting, which is entirely plausible because at this dinner, because the dinner is just world leaders and their spouses and their significant others, and they're all mingling. So that's going to happen. They're going to talk. And they start talking, and they're having a good conversation, and it's such a it's a conversation they both like having so much for whatever reason. Maybe it's just a friendly conversation. Maybe it's about policy. Maybe it's just about friendly stuff. I don't know. But maybe they're just enjoying it so much that they end up talking for an hour. Okay. Now, I've heard if you read these articles, you hear all these negatives. Well, no one's there recording the conversation on the U.S. side, so we can't tell what was said. And there's all these negative rays. But does that have to be a negative? Isn't there a world in which this could be a positive thing? Putin is the leader of one of the most powerful countries in the world, and they certainly, in terms of nuclear weapons, are the one of the two major nuclear powers in the world. A huge superpower. Very important country, obviously, I don't have to tell you that. Is it necessarily a bad thing that him and President Trump have a conversation at dinner for an hour that's not planned, that they clearly both like having so much and enjoy having for whatever reason, that they continue the conversation for an hour? Is that necessarily a bad thing? Does it have to be a bad thing? Isn't there a world in which it's a good thing? That they're getting along in person, that they're exchanging ideas, that they feel they can talk to each other. Now, I'm not saying that this couldn't be a meeting with some negative aspects. Look, if they did talk all policy stuff that normally President Trump would have his advisors there for, maybe that's a negative, but maybe that's not what happened. Maybe there was some schmoozing going on, some feeling each other out in an informal way. And at the dinner, not in a private room, at the dinner, maybe they're developing their relationship with each other. And none of the reporting I've seen shows why that couldn't have been the case. So is that really a bad thing if that was the case? So my point here, I guess my overall point is this. First of all, the initial information, the initial way this was reported was very misleading. Second of all, the reporting I'm seeing now, such as this article at the New York Times, which you're free to look at, a lot of it is very negative about this meeting. And just when you read the story, it's raising all these negative possibilities in the meeting. But what it's not talking about is the positive possibilities that I think certainly I think there are positive possibilities here. I don't know. I wasn't at the meeting. I don't know what they were talking about. I don't know. I'm not an expert in protocol about these sort of kind of things. But it does seem reasonable to me to think there are possible positives to this meeting. And I don't see that being covered in the coverage I've seen, at least. So I know MSNBC earlier, if you go watch their video online of their coverage of this, they put a video of their initial coverage of this online. And it's like their big interview was with Adam Schiff, the Democrat, who of course is going to talk really negatively about this meeting. But I just, I could see somebody saying, boy, I'm really happy that President Trump, the president of the United States, is talking to the president of Russia and they can get along at dinner for an hour. That's a good sign. That means that if something, maybe they can work out, maybe they'll feel comfortable talking about Syria. Maybe if some other issues come up that are important, like North Korea or some other crisis, they feel they can reach out and talk to each other. Is that necessarily worse than them like hating each other? So anyways, that's my thought here. It's about, I'm not telling you what to think about the meeting. I'm just talking about the media coverage and how I feel it was a bit misleading and it's been a bit negative. So that's at least my take. You can disagree with me though. So I want to come on the air and I want to give you a chance to talk about it. I saw a lot of you tweeting about it before. So I'd like to hear what you have to think about this meeting between President Trump. I hate even calling it a meeting. It's a dinner conversation. They talked at dinner for an hour. So I want to know what you think about this dinner conversation between President Putin and President Trump. Does it worry you? Do you like it? Do you have mixed feelings? Reach out and let me know. I'm at Lookner on Twitter, at Lookner. Also, real quick, thank you to the moderators for moderating the chat room. Very much appreciate it. Hello to everybody watching on Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, feel free to share this video. We love when you share the videos because that lets other people know about Right Side Broadcasting. If you're on YouTube, feel free to like the video because that tells YouTube, hey, we should let more people know about this video. So if you like it more, they'll spread it around more. So we would love for you to like the video and to share the video. And also feel free to subscribe to us on YouTube. And when you do, click the notifications bell so you get informed of all of our videos. So again, I'm going to check out some of your comments right now. I am at Lookner, at Lookner on Twitter. I'd like to hear what you think, whatever you think about this dinner conversation and the coverage of it. So what do you have to say about it? That's what I'd like to know. So let me see if there are any messages about this here. Let's see. Grant writes in, extra meeting, big whoop, just like two scoops. Oh my goodness, a secret meeting, LOL, morons. Why should he trust the press? They leak everything. That's from Grant. There was another message here. No, that wasn't about this. Oh, by the way, B. Neal just made a donation, just donated $5 and said, thanks, RSBN. I forgot to say, a lot of you know this, but for those of you who don't, we're viewer supported here. Your support lets us do our broadcasts like this. Your support lets us go and cover the Trump rally next week. So thanks to you, we can be on the air doing all this stuff. So if you'd like to donate, we'd really appreciate it because we like being on the air and doing this for you and with you. So if you want to donate, you can go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate, or do what B. Neal did and just go to the YouTube chat room next to the broadcast, go to the bottom of the chat room and click on the $sign. Oh, and Christine Bestian made a donation. Thank you so much, Christine. And she says, President Trump is our country's leader at dinner with another leader. Why is that not normal? They are losing and desperate on mainstream media. That is Christine Bestian. Thank you, Christine, so much for the donation. Mi Lin wrote in, so I had tweeted out that the White House said that President Trump only spoke briefly to Putin at the dinner, and Mi Lin wrote in, can we put this to rest now? Marty writes in, and how many times have Obama, Hillary, and Podesta spoken to Putin, Lavrov, and others in private? Look, I think this is a very good point, Marty. When I heard the story, one of the things I was thinking was what you were thinking is, isn't it possible that these kind of conversations between leaders go on a lot that we don't hear about? Now, we did hear about this one because it was at a dinner, at a public dinner that other people were at. But isn't it possible that there's frequently conversations in private that happen that we just don't hear about? And I think for perspective on a story like this, it's important to know. I don't know if there are. I wouldn't be surprised if there were. So, Then also, it's like, look, President Trump and Putin can kind of call each other whenever they want. They talk fairly regularly on the phone. So I guess the big deal is supposed to be that they spoke President Trump spoke without anybody else there and there was only a Russian interpreter there. But I could say on the flip side, if there was only a Russian interpreter, that means there wasn't like Russian staff. So it was Putin and Trump talking without their staff members there. Maybe that's a good thing. Maybe they can talk. You know, there's that video when Obama turns to Medvedev and says, hey, when I'm elected again, I'll have some more leeway here. Maybe it's good oops, sorry about this. That was a New York Times pop-up that just happened there. Maybe it's good for leaders to be able to talk without their staffs there once in a while. I don't think they agreed to a treaty on anything. It's not like President Trump is going to say, okay, we've made an agreement. I'm not going to let you hear what it is. So anything that we're going to do involving Russia, the staff is going to hear about in the cabinet, and they're going to have their say on. So maybe it's good to have a private conversation at a dinner just among leaders with no press around and no staff around once in a while. Is that really a bad thing? Should we really be worried about that? And like Ted Lieu, the congressman, should we be thinking it's nefarious? I mean, that tweet was just crazy to me, but that's Ted Lieu. So, by the way, Ted Lieu hates Donald Trump, and sometimes you'll see Ted Lieu quoted as Democratic congressman says. They sometimes quote him as like a normal Democratic congressman, where he's basically like the most anti-Trump of any Democratic congressman. So a congressperson. So be on the lookout for that. Okay. Thank you, Marty, for writing in. Aaron Williams says, let's see. I don't know if this is about this story, Aaron, so I'm not going to read this because I can't tell. It says, let me see. No, it's about healthcare. I'm sorry. Let's see. Trump's My POTUS says, POTUS doesn't need a reason. He's the president of the United States and doesn't have to explain his conversations at state dinners. That's from Trump's My POTUS. Ronnie Mercer says, why would they need two interpreters? One can do the job. The mainstream media will never let this false narrative of Trump-Russia go. Edie Marie Trump says, world leaders are allowed to talk with each other without wearing body cameras and releasing transcripts of every word. Sick of it. A bunch of people in the media, by the way, were complaining like, well, now we have no record of this meeting. Like it was definitely the worst thing that we didn't have a record of the meeting. R.N. Momov 7 says, they were just talking about grandchildren and golf. That's from R.N. Momov 7, a reference to the what Loretta Lynch said that she was talking about with President Clinton on the airplane. Ella Bell Wilson says, seems like staff leak stuff and twist stuff around, so Trump and Putin were wise to exclude them. Ella Bell Wilson, I think this is an excellent point as well. Now, I'm not saying this is definitely the case, but look, there have appeared to be some leaks from inside the White House, and maybe there are leaks with Putin's staff too. I don't know. I don't follow Russian leaks like that. But, you know, it's possible that President Trump and Putin enjoyed having a conversation where they knew there'd be no leaks. Now, you could argue, well, maybe the Russian translator would leak it. I don't know. But maybe, I'm assuming, you know, President Putin trusts that person. But, you know, maybe President Trump would wanted to have a private conversation where he knew that it wouldn't be leaked out from his side, and he was good with that. Is there anything that wrong with that? I don't know. I haven't heard the convincing argument that that's so wrong. I'm just saying it's not as clear a negative as I see it very frequently being portrayed as in the media. John Diata writes, in over 3 hours of uninterrupted conversations, that is the story. When was the last time any Russian leader spent so much time with the president? John Diata, again, another very insightful comment, I think, which is somebody could look at this and say, wow, I could imagine the media. I could imagine in a different world, the media is reporting this G20 trip as a huge success because it's like, as you said, John Diata, he had the 2 hour and 20-minute private meeting and the hour, conversation at dinner. That's 3 hours and 20 minutes talking with Putin, and I could see the media saying like, "This is a giant success. This guy is this is the other big superpower in the world, and President Trump is getting along with Putin." And it's not being spun that way by the media at all. But I could see them spinning it that they could. So it's good to keep in mind that, the same facts can be spun in different ways. And I certainly think That narrative seems as plausible to me as the other narrative that it's a big negative. I don't see it as less plausible than that. Let's see. Ella Bell Wilson says, but Melania and Putin's wife or date were there too. I don't think they were actually in that conversation, however, I think. But thank you, Ella. William A. Schroyer Jr. says, do you think the media will ever get tired of reporting things only to have it come back and make them look like idiots? William Schroyer, it's funny to me. It's like, I don't think they get tired of this because, like, remember I showed you, like, Joe Scarborough still has his tweets posted. He never took down his tweets. So he has this tweet up that says, look, he still has this tweet up that says, what does it mean when a U.S. president fears other Americans being in the room for a meeting with Putin? It means we all have much to fear. So this tweet kind of doesn't make sense now because it was a dinner meeting. It was a dinner conversation at a dinner where no other Americans were allowed there. So this tweet assumes that there was a meeting set up that President Trump didn't intentionally invite people to. So this tweet seems kind of like just based on a false premise, but Joe Scarborough doesn't care that it's still up there, apparently. He's not deleting it. Maybe he's asleep. I don't know. But this is just an example, whereas, I'm sure Ted Lieu's, the congressman's tweets are still up. And I very frequently see it where, the press will report a story one way. I bet I can find Trump's secret meeting tweets that are still up. From the press. Matthew Miller, MSNBC Justice and Security Analyst, he wrote 4 hours ago, only reason Trump could be willing to withstand the firestorm of a secret meeting with Putin was sure to bring if the alternative was worse. And then John Lovett, no, he's a podcast or whatever. But look, Matthew Miller, his post that this was a secret meeting is still up. I think it's a bit misleading to call it a secret meeting at this point, given what we know. And even the New York Times and The Hill are not calling it a secret meeting anymore. They're calling it like a talk or whatever at a dinner. So, but the press they don't even erase their misleading tweets when it's revealed that they're misleading. So, given that they don't even erase it, it doesn't seem that they really care if they're shown to be wrong about this stuff, because they don't even, if it was me and I wrote something that turned out to be misleading or false, I'd delete it. I wouldn't want it still up there, but a lot of them just leave this stuff up there. Ella Bell Wilson says, I think it's wonderful they had a dinner together. It's a very positive sign. Annabelle Onion says their informal dinner conversation was probably positive. I bet that Trump has tons of experience in dinner conversations. Your comments have been excellent. This is another insightful point. President Trump is a businessman. And I'm guessing as a businessman, a lot of what he does and did is have these dinner conversations where he schmoozes other business people. So I agree with you, Annabelle Onion. He has a lot of experience in these kind of things. That's not to say that this particular meeting was successful or unsuccessful. I have no idea because I wasn't there. But it's just to say, I think this kind of situation could be seen as a good venue for President Trump to talk to Vladimir Putin, because he's used to doing these kind of schmoozy, side conversations at dinners. I'm sure, like you said, Annabelle, he does this stuff all the time in business. So I think that's a good point. These are excellent points. Let's see. Let me keep getting your comments here. I'd love to hear from if you have further comments on this, write to me at Lookner on Twitter, and I'll read your comment. Dawson Meyer says, how much of the right side in Washington support Trump now? Sad. So are you saying that a lot of the right wing doesn't support President Trump? Which I've heard different claims about, but I'm not sure if you're just asking that in the abstract or if you're asking that in response to this story, Dawson. So feel free to write again and clarify. Ella Bell Wilson said, I think I already read that one. Sorry. Question Everything says, this was not private or secret. A couple's dinner at G20. What's the purpose of G20 again? And I did see a couple of Right Side Broadcasting Twitter followers did write earlier today, hey, isn't the purpose of G20 to have world leaders meet and talk? So isn't this talk between them keeping with the entire purpose of G20? So you're making the same point, Question Everything, and I appreciate you writing in. Ralph Hornsby says, oh, sorry, that's not about this. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just checking the messages here and making sure I'm caught up. Maritza Menazian says Putin likes Trump because of his tough love stance. John Stanton writes, there they go again. Their complaints have no merits. Reasoning with them gives their complaint merit it doesn't deserve. Oh, look at this. Chris Douglas, our viewer. Thank you so much, Chris. Chris just alerted me that President Trump just posted a tweet about this 3 minutes ago. Let's check out President Trump's tweet, shall we? Thank you, Chris, so much for writing in and letting me know that. Look at this. This is like breaking President Trump news. President Trump posts, the fake news is becoming more and more dishonest. Even a dinner arranged for top 20 leaders in Germany is made to look sinister. This is precisely what we've been talking about. He does it. He tweets this out right during our broadcast. How fitting. So that's from President Trump. Thank you, Chris Douglas, for letting me know. President Trump says that he thinks that this is a dinner arranged for top 20 leaders in Germany, and the press is making it look sinister. I'm going to like that tweet because I think he's making a good point there, that the coverage has been negative and not as balanced as it could be. So thank you for Chris for letting me know about that. Again, this is Right Side Broadcasting. We are covering this story about this Trump-Putin dinner conversation that was originally reported today as a secret second meeting with nefarious connotations. That's how the mainstream media reported it. And we're talking about that. We're taking your comments about what you think about this dinner conversation. A lot of you have very different thoughts about this dinner than the mainstream media does. Now, if you think this dinner was a bad idea, you are welcome to write in. I am happy to read your comment. I'm happy to hear from any of you and read your comments on the air. I'm at Lookner. Write to me there, at Lookner on Twitter, at Lookner. Thank you again to the moderators for moderating the chat room. And again, hello to everybody on YouTube and Facebook. Feel free to share and like our video on Facebook and YouTube. We love when you do that. And also, I'll say again, we are Right Side Broadcasting. We're viewer supported. So your donations let us be on the air and do this right now. Your donations are what's letting us travel to Youngstown, Ohio next Tuesday for President Trump's rally. We will be there live. I will be there. Margaret Howell will be there. We will be covering it all day for you. So we can only do that because you support us. So if you'd like to make a donation, we would really, really, really appreciate it because you keep us on the air. If you'd like to donate, go to rsbn.tv/donate. That's rsbn.tv/donate. Or there's a YouTube chat room right next to the broadcast. You can go to the bottom of the YouTube chat room. There's a $sign there. You can click on the $sign, and you can donate by clicking on the $sign. By the way, I hope you enjoyed the screenshot for the YouTube screenshot for this broadcast. We're trying to be a little more creative with our YouTube screenshots, so we're just starting to do that because for various reasons. A, because it's fun being a little more creative and doing fun screenshots. But B, you want to stand out on YouTube and get attention and let people know, and say, hey, there's a lot of videos out there. So multiple reasons that we want to do interesting screenshots and fun screenshots. So we did one today for you. Hope you enjoyed it. If you haven't seen it, I can show it actually. I should just show it. Hold on. Can I show it? I don't know if that'll work that way. No, I don't think I can. I'll have to. I'm on the wrong computer and everything and blah blah blah. Don't worry about it. So if you want to see it after the broadcast, go to our YouTube page and you'll see the screenshot, the thumbnail, not screenshot, thumbnail for the broadcast. All right, let me get back to your comments. Dawson Meyer says, when you were talking about whether people on the right still support Trump, you said, just seems his support is very limited and he is up against everyone when it comes to media. Well, you mean even the right-wing media? Well, yeah, so the Wall Street Journal, for example, posted a very negative editorial about President Trump this morning. So yeah, I think a lot of media, even on the right, has disapproved with him. disapproved of him. But there are some media who do approve of him, and some media are just neutral. Like we don't sit up here and say we approve or don't approve. We let you decide what to think. We don't have an agenda here. Our agenda is just to want agenda-free coverage. That's what I want and what we want. John Magoo says, I wonder if he used Russian dressing on his salad. I don't know. Let's see here. Messages, more messages. Wisconsin Trump Girl sent me a tweet from Poll News Forever. And Poll, I believe, is on 4chan, that board on 4chan. And that tweet said their tweet said there was no secret Trump-Putin meeting. The media is deliberately lying to make you think that two world leaders talking is bad. That's from Poll News Forever. Thank you, Wisconsin Trump Girl, for sending that in. Drew says, Steve, it's not about the meeting or the dinner. It's about public didn't know about it on the day he went to the summit. We probably find out if others were invited like Trump said. If it was not known by public or Secret Service, and if Germany president said opposite of what Trump said, it will not look good. So I think what you're getting at here, Drew, is could it be a problem that President Trump did this and people didn't know about it? It's hard for me to say because I'm not really aware of the protocol. It's not like they hid this. They did this at the dinner. They talked at a dinner that all these world leaders were talking about. And look, we don't know what was discussed. If they just had a good personal conversation, just like a friendly conversation for an hour, is it really bad that we don't know that happened? I mean, we do know he was at the dinner. That wasn't kept secret. So, so it's hard to say, I could see, without knowing what they talked about, it's hard for me to say, it's definitely bad that they didn't there wasn't a big announcement that they talked, because people knew he was at this dinner, and so you had to assume he might talk to Putin. If they had a serious hour-long treaty negotiation or something, maybe that's more of a problem if they didn't tell anyone they had it, but I don't know that was the case. I haven't heard anything that was the case. So I understand the point, Drew, your point, Drew. That's just some of the considerations I think of. Old Guy 1947 says there are scheduled and non-scheduled meetings at conferences. NBD, no big deal. Dorothea V says, how many meetings did Obama have? We have no idea, they were not reported. He can meet whomever he wants working. That's from Dorothea V. William A. Schroyer says, I see President Trump as someone who would ask Putin what issues he has with us and actually listen to him. So you're saying, William, maybe, look, it's possible your scenario is that President Trump listens to what Putin's problems are with the U.S., and maybe that helps our relations with them and helps us get a better deal later. I don't know. But as one of the viewers said earlier, this is something he's used to doing kind of schmoozy dinner talk. And schmoozy has like a negative connotation, but it's part of business when you get to know people in a casual atmosphere. And, maybe President Trump is trying to use this to America's advantage, talking to Putin in this context. Annabelle Onion, you just sent me something. Annabelle Onion just sent me a tweet from the last left refuge. I'll show you what it is. It's a tweet that says, breaking OMG exclusive footage of nefarious Putin-Trump secret meeting emerges. Colluding cloaked as mingling. Now let's see what the video is here. So I guess this is footage of the meeting. I don't know if we see Trump and Putin talking at this footage, but this is in this footage. There's no time code on it, but that's shots of the meeting. That's not Putin there. Anyways, at some point does he go up to Putin? I'm not going to watch the whole thing because you'll just get bored if I watch the whole thing. Anyways, you can go to the last refuge 2 and watch this if you like. But you can see there are lots of world leaders there. So. Let's see. Andrew Sova sent me a tweet from Jacob Wohl, and it says, He responded to this tweet by President Trump, and Jacob Wohl said, "We will not allow the mainstream media to upend our democracy with endless dishonesty. The American people stand with President Trump." So Andrew Sova wanted you to hear that response. Andrew also says, if you don't already, by the way, personally, my birthday is on Thursday. I'll be 34 years of age. Longtime viewer, Andrew Sova, happy early birthday to you. Happy 34th. Oh, and Ella Bell Watson just let me know President Trump just tweeted again about this. So let's show you his next tweet about this that he just tweeted. I think he did. Oh, no, there's a second one. Oh, you know what? And I'm sorry. It looks like this was an hour ago. I was so busy trying to get on the air. This was my bad. I missed this. So I gave you fake news and I said President Trump just tweeted this out. That was fake news. He tweeted it out an hour ago. So my bad on this. I'll admit it was wrong. But anyways, here's the other tweet he tweeted out. So thank you. Our viewers are so helpful. Fake news story of a secret dinner with Putin is sick. All G20 leaders and spouses were invited by the Chancellor of Germany. Press knew. So he's pointing out there, look, the story comes out today that there was a secret meeting. The press knew I was at this dinner where Putin was there. So those are tweets by President Trump. Again, my apologies. I didn't realize. And I do follow President Trump on Twitter to see what he's saying. But I was kind of busy here following the story and getting ready for the broadcast. And also, I was making travel arrangements for Ohio for the rally next week. Okay, we are still covering this. And we'll be on for a little while longer here covering this story. And if you would like to write to me at Lookner on Twitter, at Lookner. Feel free to follow me as well. I cover lots of breaking news stuff. Like when this story came out, I was posting on it. And follow Right Side Broadcasting at RSB Network. And like and follow us on Facebook if you feel like it too. And subscribe to us on YouTube. Red Pill News Rant says, it's too funny. The mainstream media is like the worst helicopter parents ever, always looking over every action and movement of President Trump. That was from Red Pill News Rant. Lynn Verhoff writes, they freak whatever Trump or Putin do. Dangerous for America, this freak. So I will say this, there's somebody I know who, I know this person, but they don't really keep up the news and they're busy, but they vote, they vote. And they were saying to me recently something like, President Trump's having all this Russia stuff happening, but they don't really follow the news specifically. So they don't really know what the Russia stuff is. But what I took from that is at a certain point, if the news is going to have like sort of the 24-hour negative coverage about Russia stuff on the air, a lot of people are like busy and they don't really have time to get into the specifics and stuff like that. And there's a certain amount of the population that's just going to see that that's on the air. And without like getting into the details and like saying, wait a second, does like CNN have a really good argument here or not? They'll just think, oh, well, since the news is covering it all day and night and and the tone is kind of negative about Trump, I guess that means Trump did something wrong with Russia. So I do think there can be this danger. Look, I'm all for a free press. I think free presses, you need them to preserve democracies. They should not be censored in any kind of way. So I am 100% by the free press. But I do think that there is responsibility that comes with being in the press. And I do think there is a danger, like, look, if there's 24-hour a day negative news coverage about something, that's going to seep into a certain segment of the population. And so I think that's why I get annoyed when when very influential press people in the press and the media, like, for example, Joe Scarborough, send out like a tweet that I feel is inaccurate or misleading. And I get really annoyed because I'm like, look, people look to you. They trust you. And when you're trusted like that, there's a certain degree of responsibility that should come with that, because certain people are just going to believe what you say. They don't have the time or the energy or whatever to, or the resources to check out all these things. So to me, if you're in the press, no matter who you are, there's a burden on you, a responsibility to be as accurate as possible. And when you so I do think there is a danger if media is inaccurate, and if they're biased, that can really affect people's views. So I'm 100% for the free press. I don't think it should be censored, but I'm also 100% for the press feeling a sense of responsibility for what they're reporting. And often I think, look, we've seen it ever since President Trump started running. We've seen a lot of reporting that turned out to be wrong. We've seen reporting that turned out to be right, but we've also seen reporting that turned out to be wrong. We've seen biased, negative tweets and that kind of thing. And it's like, I just think there were a number of cases where I saw them where better responsibility and better checking the facts would have prevented this false reporting from happening. And so my point is that the media should be careful about what they do, because what they do has effects. They're role models for people, and they're listened to by a lot of people, and you got to be careful by what you do. So that's my thought on this, my little rant. Okay, I want to get to more of your messages here. Unless I'm all caught up, let me check. Dawson Meyer says it's a shame that the president has to deal with all this news constantly and not really to get to enjoy any high points. Now, there's a whole 3.5 years to go in his first term. Now, I'll also say this: a thought I had recently was, the media coverage of him has been quite negative. I don't have to tell you that the first half of this first year, but it is possible that President Trump there is like a low bar being set right now in the media. And if he does have achievements before, say, next year's election, those might look extra good compared to all of the negative coverage we've seen so far. So it's like there's a lot of low expectations being set up for President Trump right now, as opposed to high expectations. So if he does accomplish some things, those might look even better because of the low expectations that have been set up for him. Little thought I had. Okay, I think we've gotten to all your comments here. So I think very soon, I'll give you people a minute to write in if they have any last comments they want to make. I'm at Lookner, Lookner on Twitter if you have any comments you want to write in. But I want to say again, thank you to the moderators, and thank you to everybody watching on Facebook and YouTube, and all your comments. Some excellent comments tonight, as usual, insightful comments, a lot of good points you guys raised. Ella Bell Wilson wants to know more about the rally. President Trump's rally will be in Youngstown, Ohio, 7 p.m. I'm not sure if that's Ohio time or Eastern time. That's next week. We'll let you know before then. We'll be there covering it. We'll show you all his speech, his full speech. We'll show you all of the speakers speaking before him. We'll start several hours before interviewing people in line outside the rally and inside the rally as they're waiting for the speeches. We'll do a post show at the rally where we talk to people in the audience and say, see what they thought about the rally. So you'll really get the feel of what it's like to be at the rally, both outside and inside. And the whole day we'll be covering it. And if you'd like to help us, I will be there. Margaret Howell will be there. So if you'd like to help us cover it, because it costs money to go there, I had to buy a plane ticket today. And if you'd like to help us out, we'd appreciate it. If you want to donate, you can go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate, or you can make a donation in the YouTube chat room. Right next to the broadcast, there's a $sign just below the chat room, and you can click that $sign, make a donation that way. But yeah, if we hope you join us for the broadcast next week, next Tuesday. And so if the rally starts at 7, I have to imagine our broadcast will start. It usually starts around 3 or something, around 4 hours before the rally. We're just interviewing lots of different people before the rally, people who've traveled to the rally, and we get their stories and hear about their thoughts on President Trump and what it's like being on the rally, at the rally and stuff. So it's if you've never watched it before, I think it's a really neat way to watch a rally. No one covers it like Right Side. Okay, all right. I think I'm going to wrap this up here. And I'm glad you joined me for this chat. And the rally is next Tuesday. Some people was asking in the chat room. So I'm going to wrap this up. I appreciate you joining and all your comments and the donations we got. And what else? And the moderators. So we will, as usual, come on the air whenever there's breaking news. We will be on the air. if there's breaking news tomorrow, I might be out of town, so I might come on and cover it on an iPad. So if you see me on an iPad tomorrow covering it, that's why. It's because I'm not near the studio. But okay, I'm going to wrap this up. I want to say thanks to everybody out there. Thank you for watching. Thank you, everybody in the chat room. Hello to all of you. Hello to all of you. And that's it. So keep watching Right Side. Thanks for your support. Subscribe. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at RSB Network. Follow me on Twitter. I'm at Lookner. That's all we got from now. Hope you enjoyed the stream. And that's where my graphic is. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Hope you have a great night. And we will speak to you soon. Have a great night from Right Side Broadcasting. Very influential press people